Peace, peace. It's your boy Mayhem once again, and this is On This Day in Black History, February 23rd, 1868. William Edward Burckhardt du Bois was born to Mary Sylvina Burckhardt and Alfred du Bois on February 23rd, 1868 in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. Educator, civil rights advocate. Throughout his career as a sociologist, historian, educator, and socio-political activist, William Edward Burckhardt argued for immediate racial equality for African Americans. His emergence as an African American leader paralleled the rise of Jim Crow laws of the South in the Progressive era. One of Du Bois' most famous quotes encapsulates his philosophy. Now is the accepted time, not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done and not some future day or future year. It is today that we fit ourselves for the greater usefulness of tomorrow. Today is the seed time. Now are the hours of work, and tomorrow comes the harvest and the playtime. Du Bois was born in Great Barrington, Massachusetts on February 23, 1868. Throughout his childhood, he excelled in school, and upon his graduation from high school, members of the community awarded Du Bois with a scholarship to attend Fisk University. While at Fisk, Du Bois experienced racism and poverty that was very different from his experiences in Great Barrington. As a result, Du Bois decided that he would dedicate his life to ending racism and uplifting African Americans. In 1888, Du Bois graduated from Fisk and was accepted to Harvard University, where he earned a master's degree, a doctorate, and a fellowship to study for 2 years at the University of Berlin in Germany. Following his studies in Berlin, Du Bois argued that through racial inequality and injustice could be exposed through scientific research. However, after observing the remaining body parts of a man who was lynched, Du Bois was convinced that scientific research was not enough. Du Bois followed his first teaching job at Wilberforce University with a fellowship at the University of Pennsylvania to conduct a research project in Philadelphia's 7th Ward neighborhood. Researching racism as a social system, he was determined to learn as much as he could in an attempt to find the cure for prejudice and discrimination. His investigations, statistical measurements, and sociological interpretation of this endeavor were published as the Philadelphia Negro. This was the first time such a scientific approach to studying social phenomenon was undertaken, which is why Du Bois is often called the father of social science. Du Bois next taught at Atlanta University, where he remained for 13 years. While there, he studied and wrote about morality, urbanization, business and education, the church, and crime as it affected black society. His main goal was to encourage and help social reform. Initially, Du Bois argued with the philosophy of Booker T. Washington, the preeminent leader of black Americans during the Progressive era. Washington's activism and life work were all aimed to help black Americans become skilled in industrial and vocational trades so they could open businesses, assimilate into American society as engaged citizens, and become self-reliant. Du Bois, however, came to greatly disagree with Washington's incremental, compromising approach, and he outlined his arguments in his collection of essays, The Souls of Black Folk, published in 1903. In these writings, Du Bois argued that white Americans needed to take responsibility for their contributions to the problem of racial inequality. He delineated the flaws he saw in Washington's argument, but he also agreed that black Americans must take better advantage of educational opportunities to uplift their race as they simultaneously fought racism directly. In 1934, Du Bois left the NAACP because of his new advocacy of an African American nationalist strategy that ran into opposition to the NAACP's commitment to integration. According to the NAACP, he also departed from his job at the Crisis and returned to teaching at Atlanta University. Du Bois was one of the number of African American leaders investigated by the FBI, which claimed that in 1942 his writings indicated he was a socialist. At the time, Du Bois was chairman of the Peace Information Center and was one of the signers of the Stockholm Peace Pledge, which opposed the use of nuclear weapons. Du Bois later returned to the NAACP as director of special research from 1944 to 1948, as the NAACP notes. During this period, he was active in placing the grievances of African Americans before the United Nations, serving as a consultant to the UN Founding Convention 1945 and writing the famous An Appeal to the World in 1947. Du Bois worked tirelessly to end racial inequality during his career. Through his membership in the American Negro Academy, Du Bois developed the ideal of the talented 10th, arguing that educated African Americans could lead the fight for racial equality in the United States. Du Bois' ideals about the importance of education would be present again during the Harlem Renaissance. During this flowering of Black literary, visual, and musical art, Du Bois argued that racial equality could be gained through the arts. Using his influence during his time as editor of The Crisis, Du Bois promoted the work of many African-American visual artists and writers. Du Bois' concern for racial equality was not limited to the United States, as he was an activist for equality for people of African descent throughout the world. As a leader of the Pan-African movement, Du Bois organized conferences for the Pan-African Congress, including its inaugural gathering in 1919. Leaders from Africa and the Americas assembled to discuss racism and oppression, the issues that people of African descent face worldwide. In 1961, Du Bois moved to Ghana and renounced his U.S. citizenship. Du Bois' health deteriorated during his 2 years in Ghana. He died there on August 27, 1963, at age 95. Du Bois was given a state funeral in Ghana's capital of Accra. Du Bois was a central leader in the fight for racial upliftment and equality in the 20th century. In the world of academia, he is considered to be one of the founders of modern sociology. His body of work inspired the creation of a critical journal of Black politics, culture, and society called Souls. His legacy is honored annually by the American Sociological Association with an award for a career of distinguished scholarship that's given in his name. February 23, 1869, Louisiana governor signed Public Accommodations Law. In Louisiana, public accommodation laws prohibit discrimination in public places based on race, religion, national origin, and more. These laws apply to many places, including hotels, restaurants, and event venues. February 23, 1881, Benjamin A. Bozeman, physician, politician, and postmaster, was freeborn in New York in 1840 to Benjamin A. and Annaretta Bozeman. He was the oldest of 5 children, 2 girls and 3 boys. Bozeman grew up in Troy, New York, where his father served as a steward on the Steamboat Empire in the mid-1800s, and then a sutler, a civilian merchant selling provisions to the army. Bozeman was educated in the segregated schools of Troy and showed an interest in becoming a physician. At the age of 16, he began an 8-year apprenticeship in the office of prominent Troy physician Dr. Thomas C. Brinsmaid, before completing his education at the Medical School of Maine at Bowdoin College, where he received his medical degree in 1864. With his degree in hand, Bozeman turned his efforts towards obtaining a position as a surgeon, Union Army, during the American Civil War. After writing the acting Surgeon General Joseph K. Barnes requesting a position as a surgeon with the colored regiments, Bozeman received an appointment as a contract acting assistant surgeon. He was assigned to a recruiting position for the United States colored troops at Camp Foster in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and served for a year examining recruits and tending to sick and wounded soldiers of the 21st Regiment of the USCT, United States Colored Troops. After the war ended, Bozeman remained in South Carolina, taking up residence in Charleston, where he set up a successful medical practice. He met and married Virginia Montgomery, and the couple had 2 sons, Benjamin and Christopher. In 1968, Bozeman was among several African Americans who were elected to Congress for the first time in South Carolina. He became the only politician, black or white, elected to 3 consecutive terms in South Carolina's House of Representatives during Reconstruction. During his term, Bozeman introduced several pieces of legislation in an attempt to outlaw racial discrimination in the state. In addition to his political service as a representative, Bozeman was appointed physician to the Charleston City Jail in 1869 by South Carolina Governor Robert Scott. He served on the Board of Regiments of the State Lunatic Asylum and was appointed to the Board of Trustees of the University of South Carolina. After completing his 3rd term in legislature, he became the first black postmaster of Charleston, appointed by President Ulysses S. Grant in 1873. Benjamin A. Bozeman Jr. died on February 23, 1881, in Charleston, South Carolina. He was 41. February 23rd, 1895, William H. Hurd, AME minister and educator, was named minister to Liberia. February 23rd, 1915, the death of Robert Smalls, Reconstruction congressman in Beaufort, South Carolina. February 23rd, 1925, Louis Stokes was born. Ohio's first African-American congressman, Louis Stokes, was born to Charles and Louis Stokes on February 23rd, 1925 in Cleveland, Ohio, shout out Ohio, where he attended its public schools before joining the United States Army in 1943. Louis Stokes, former mayor of Detroit, Michigan, and member of the U.S. House of Representatives, the first African-American elected to the House from Ohio. 1955, Rodney E. Slater, former cabinet member, attorney, and state government official, was born in Marianna, Arkansas on February 23, 1955. In 1977, Slater graduated from Eastern Michigan University. He earned his law degree in 1980 from the University of Arkansas. In 1980, Slater became the Assistant Attorney General for the Litigation Division of Arkansas's Attorney General's Office. From 83 to 87, Slater served as Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton's executive assistant for economic and community programs, and then as the special assistant for community and minority affairs. In 1987, Clinton appointed Slater to the Arkansas Highway Commission. Slater also held other positions in the state of Arkansas, such as director of governmental relations at Arkansas State University, and was a special liaison for the Martin Luther King Jr. Federal Holiday Commission. In 1993, President Bill Clinton appointed Slater as administrator of Federal Highway Administration. Slater's effectiveness in that position catapulted him into the position of Secretary of Transportation in 1997. As secretary, he oversaw transportation projects between federal and state governments. In June of 2001, Slater joined the private sector as a director of the Kansas City Southern Incorporated, a major interstate railroad. Slater also became a partner in the public policy practice group of a leading Washington, D.C. law firm, Patton Boggs, LLP. While there, he concentrated on transportation law. Slater has received numerous honors, such as an honorary doctorate from Howard University, the Albert Schweitzer Leadership Award from the Hugh O'Brien Leadership Foundation, the Lamplighter Award for Public Service from the Black Leadership Forum, and the Trailblazer Award from Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. In 1998, he also received awards from the Congressional Black Caucus, Ebony Magazine, the National Bar Association, and the Arkansas Times. In 2006, Slater belonged to a group of investors that purchased the Washington Nationals, the Major League Baseball team from Washington, D.C. They were formerly the Montreal Expos. Slater and his wife, Cassandra Wilkins, have a daughter, Bridget Josette. February 23rd, 1965. Constance Baker Motley elected Manhattan Borough President, the highest elective office held by a black woman in a major American city. February 23rd, 1979, Frank E. Peterson Jr., named the first black general and the first African American in the Marine Corps. Alrighty, and it looks like we have, I definitely skipped one. 1929, February 23rd, baseball catcher Elston Gene Howard was born in St. Louis, Missouri. In 1965, Howard signed a $70,000 contract with the New York Yankees and became the highest paid player in the history of baseball at the time. Excuse me. All right, now, February 23rd, 1995, bass singer Melvin Franklin of The Temptations dies of complications following a brain seizure in Los Angeles. He was 53 years old. And I believe that is today in Black History, February 23rd. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment and all that good stuff to help out the channel. Check out the rest of the videos I've done on this day in Black History up until this day, and stay tuned for more. Appreciate it. Peace.